Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Open mic, number 173. We're continuing on with our rebuttal of Convicting a Murderer episodes 1 and 2. So glad everybody could come and drop in and listen to our opinions and our rebuttals of what we saw, at least parts of what we've seen presented in Convicting a Murderer in these various episodes. So wherever you're at in the world, thanks for coming. And should be good. We did about 4 videos yesterday, and Doc has some slides that we went through to kind of explain who these people are that we're talking about, at least some information as to why Sean Rick and his creative team did what they did. So we'll get a little bit more into that here in a moment. But first, I'd like to say hi to everyone here on the panel, and we'll say hello to everyone in the live chat. Have a little discussion. We've got 4 video clips. This is probably not going to be a really long open mic tonight, but I think there's going to be plenty of conversation to carry us at least for a little while, right, Doc?
When you said it's not going to be a long one, it means it's under 6 hours.
Right. It's not going to be a typical marathon. So, but yep. I think this is the best way to do this, so we can cover these episodes and get through this in a fair way. I think it works out perfectly. If we have spillover from the Saturday episode, that we just go right into Sunday and just finish it up on Sunday. So anyway, first up from hadn't been that long. How you doing, Rhonda?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm slowly but surely coming out of my food coma. So there's that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So yeah, doing okay. Glad to be here and glad to finish this up and this segment, and look forward to all the comments and questions that we can try to respond to.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll try to give everybody the proper reminders about questions and so forth. Then we have one of our brand newest shiny mods, Kay. How are you, Kay?
Hey, I'm good. Good. Glad to be here. Glad to think that this could be the last episode of the rebuttal for this, and looking forward to finishing that up and getting back to all the great work you guys have been doing.
Well, we've still got several episodes to go. We've still got 3 and 4, 5, 6, and 7.
I'm in the ozone, I guess. I don't know why I thought you were just talking about these 2 shows were wrapping up an episode. Okay.
1 and 2. Yeah, wow. Yeah. Didn't we start on episode 8? Didn't we start on episode 8, Doc?
No, we actually started. We did 7.
That's right. We did
9 and 10.
So we got 3 through 6. So a couple more weeks.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not worthy of that shiny.
Sure stop.
You weren't really around us when we did episode 7, so it's not really your fault.
All right.
I caused that confusion. I apologize. That was probably me, because I had said I was looking forward to wrapping up this segment, and I just meant that these 2 episodes was all I meant.
Okay, well, I'm happy to blame it on you.
Okay, I can handle it.
Sweet. All right, Kay, thank you very much. And then Doc?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jack61. It's great to be here, and warm welcome to everyone on the panel, and warm welcome to everyone in chat. It was only like yesterday that we were commencing our rebuttal, and I'll tell you what, it's been really well received. A lot of people have been watching it, commenting on it, so it'll be great to finish off this episode. Yeah, it's a painful one, unfortunately, but it's got to be done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like watching Brendan's coerced interrogations. It's really painful, but you got to do it, or we had to do it. So yeah, absolutely, Doc. Thank you very much. And then JD, thanks for dropping in.
Hi everybody, and hi everybody on the panel. Looking forward to tonight and finishing off these segments of 1 and 2.
Excellent. Thanks for coming, Jay. And then Alice.
Hi, panel. Hi, everyone in chat. It's great to see all the usual suspects joining us in chat as always. It's great to see Claire in chat as well. Hi, everyone. I missed last night because I had a bit of a headache and fell asleep and then slept through the alarm that I set. So, so that's why I missed last night's one. But happy to be with everyone tonight and looking forward to what we're going to get down to.
Excellent, excellent. Well, glad you're feeling better. So then we have Lady Neverly from Neverly Hills.
Hello, Jack.
Hello.
Yes, reporting
Yeah.
live from Neverly Hills. How's everybody doing in the chat and on the panel? It seems like we have tons of people already. And the latecomers, I like them because I just order them to drop down and give us 20. Right?
There you go. That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly
And
right.
how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We got snow.
Oh,
It's
the
hovering about 30.
four-letter word. Yeah.
Yeah, the 4-letter word. Yeah, I mean, not a lot, but it's still snowing. But it's that time of year. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get 80. You get 80 and 85 degrees, and at the beach.
No,
and we get,
actually, it's 68 degrees and it's really windy. We have Santa Ana winds, which are making havoc everywhere. So, yeah, my lawn chairs are tipped over. So, big problem. Big problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sucks. Yeah.
Well, still
I'm kidding.
68. I mean,
I'm
it's still
kidding.
right. I get it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Neville. Thank you
Okay.
very much. And
Sure.
then Cherie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open Mic.
Thanks, Cherie. And then Rhonda, if you could just can you read off the live chatters that have joined us so far? And hello to all the lurkers. Hello to all the lurkers out there. You don't have to talk, and it's fine if you don't want to say anything. It's not a problem at all.
Yeah. Yeah, like Jack said, hello to everybody who's lurking. We still appreciate you being here, whether you comment or not. We'll say hello to Under Your Scars. JD is on the panel and in the chat. Pete Moss, Gloria. Of course, we have a song to put with that name, or I do. Sheila Hawkins, great to see you. Welcome. Clive Coolidge. It's possible, Tina. Welcome. Foul Play is also in the chat, aka
That's Neverly. Neverly.
Neverly signs in from Foul Play. Passive Bear, great to see you. I'm also in the chat and on the panel. Hello to me. Rumor has it, Colette M. Sver Hegland is in the chat. True Crime Fangirl, great to see you. Catnit, hello Catnit. Jack has an explanation for you as soon as we're finished here with saying hello. Anthony D, hello to Anthony. And Anthony Hills, I can't accept this. Anthony Hills is at work and will tune in when possible. You're late, Anthony, you're late.
And too bad, so sad. You gotta listen to us live.
Yep.
That's funny.
Dr. Silkman is on the panel and in the chat. Kay is also on the panel and in the chat. Thank you so much. Graham Moss and Alice in Wrongful Conviction Land, also on the panel and in the chat. Great to have you back, Alice. And Nan's Life 7. Hello, Nan's Life 7. Great to see you. Claire View from her own channel. Welcome to our live and to our chat, Claire. We appreciate you being here as well. Random Pieces, hello and welcome. Rhiannon McCook, welcome and thank you for being here. And thank you for having the first name of what I was going to name my first girl when I was in high school. Because of why, Jack? Because of I was hooked on that song from Fleetwood Mac. Yes, thank you. And Kelly McAlien has dropped in. Hello and welcome, Kelly. And let's see, I think, Little Barb. Hey, Little Barb, it's great to see you. And Alligator 57. Great to see you, and welcome back to our live. And that's all I see for now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
And I was just going to ask you, Jack, to explain to those in chat why we didn't get to have our amazing countdown
opening.
video.
Our opening. Yeah. I hate it. I really do. But this is something that we do. I do after the fact. We tried. Once you hit 1,000 members, you can monetize, and as everyone knows, we use our ad money to purchase various things with the case, or whatever that may be, FOIAs or whatever, to help the group and the community. Anyway, back long ago, we tried to turn monetization on during the live, and it created a disaster because not everyone has YouTube Premium, so they're getting ads. They're getting bombarded with ads. So what I do, and what I've been doing for a long time, I turn monetization off until after the live is done, and then I always go turn it on. And of course, it gives you any warnings, blah blah blah, from YouTube in your studio, and that music from the opener is copyright, and we didn't get a strike, but it blanked the monetization. And I either had to just accept it with no monetization, or mute the music. And I know that Kat, I think she really trusts the app she uses. There's a selection of copyright-free music, but I don't know. I know YouTube's really weird about that kind of thing. So hopefully we can get something worked out, because I really like that intro. It works perfectly. So that's the reason why we didn't get to hear it. I apologize for that, but for now, we'll just have to see what we can do. Maybe I can get together with Kat, and we can do a little research as to why she's getting on her app, it being a copyright-free song, and then YouTube says, "Oh, no, it's not, and you can't monetize your video." So that's the reason why. And I will tell you guys, those that don't create their own videos through YouTube, they keep adding things that you have to follow within YouTube, and I get it. There's going to be changes always with as a monster as big as YouTube. It's so global. I was talking to my son earlier today. I'm thinking to myself, I said, I wonder how many millions of dollars per day that YouTube makes in profit. Seriously, it's got to be in the hundreds of millions per day, because it's just everywhere. Yeah. So, but they have the community standards that they've continued to. I mean, when I took over streaming for Zoe, like I was telling everybody earlier, there were 5 or 6 headings that you kind of had to follow for the community standards if you wanted to, monetize your videos, and that's fine. Now there's 8 or 10, I think, and then under each one of those, there's several subsections that you have to follow, and they keep adding to it and changing stuff. And so I understand they don't want to get hit with some kind of lawsuit because they've allowed somebody's music that potentially could, get them because of royalty problems and so forth. So I don't know. I'm gonna do a little research on this, because I really like that opening that Katnick created. The music is perfect. So we'll see. Maybe for next time we can have it back, but that's gonna have to be worked out with YouTube. That good enough? Did I make a short story really long and bore everybody's eyes out?
All of the above.
Well, it was so amazing. And I'm not just blowing smoke up anybody's ass. It was such an epic opening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just wanted to make sure, especially Kat knew why it didn't play, that it wasn't until late last night or early this morning, I guess, that you found out. So. Well,
it was last night after the live. Like I said, after the live is over, and then I go back and then I turn monetization on, and that's when I saw it, because it automatically pops up. It tells you right then, right? Oh, yeah, right. So anyway, all right, that's enough of that. As everybody's seen, I put up the disclaimer. We're doing our own opinions, our own thoughts, and so forth. And everybody out there that's in the live chat, I know you have your opinions and thoughts as well. If you have questions or whatever, put a Q, put it in the chat. One of the mods will certainly try to get that flagged, and we'll try to answer your questions as we go through this. I'm going to put up one more slide here. This is from last night as well. This is a trigger, because there are certain things. Doc was tried to be as careful as he could about going through because of the sensitive nature of a lot of things that were said in episodes 1 and 2 about the trigger warnings and some things that were really unpleasant. I think he was really thoughtful in the clips that he picked out, avoiding certain things that really didn't belong in this because of the overall. So anyway, that's enough of that. Let me get that turned off, and we'll just talk brief. Well, first let me shut up for a minute. What the hell's all that stuff? Okay. Thinking about the first 4 videos, and anybody here in the panel can answer, Doc, or anyway, it doesn't matter to me. Just thinking about the first 4 that we saw last night. Anything to add today before we get going? And in addition to that, anything about episodes 1 and 2 you think should be included that we may have mentioned last night, but is worth mentioning again before we start? How about episodes 1 and 2? Yeah.
If I could just quickly comment. I mean, for me, it really set the theme and the tone of Convicting a Murderer. Essentially, what the main aims and objectives were of Convicting a Murderer right off the bat, and it was definitely a character assassination type of documentary. Basically, having a go, as we discussed yesterday, at not only the filmmakers themselves, Netflix, of course, we know that with Colburn's civil suit, but also having a go at the so-called truther community, supporters. It set the tone very, very early on, and you see that theme unfortunately continue right throughout the series. And as we've discussed before, guys, the first 4 or 5 episodes, which is about 40-50% of the airtime that Convicting a Murderer had, was basically based on character assassination of Stephen Avery, and making sure that everyone in the community got to hear about all the historical crimes and all the current things that Stephen was doing against women and against others. Just putting that right up front and center.
Yeah, I agree, Doc. And again, we discussed this, and I don't want to do it ad nauseum because of the effect of Making a Murderer. As we talked about, what we saw was news clips, trial footage, police interviews or whatever, depositions. No narrator. And that's really a very unique and interesting way to have a 10-part documentary, if you think about it. I mean, there were, various people that appeared on camera, like they had Alan and Dolores and the cousin, Kim Nicott, talking about, they're not done with you yet, and you think they're going to pay you money, and and her words rang true. I think she could see the writing on the wall, but no narrator. And then here comes Convicting a Murderer, and there's absolutely no way they could have followed that model. And I think that's a very interesting aspect, because this is supposed to be an attack on Making a Murderer. So why would Making a Murderer have people on that's just going to drop in a bunch of fucking hearsay? They can't prove. It may be true, but then again, these people could just be pissed off and decide to take a whiz on Stephen and Brendan, because he's there too. He's screwed too.
Correct. I think there's a big contrast between both Making a Murderer and Convicting a Murderer. With Convicting a Murderer, as you said, Jack 61, there's definitely a narration, but there's also you're being steered into a particular narrative.
That's right.
I thought Making a Murderer, the way it was shown, was very, very clever. It was a very complex tapestry of many, many different stories interwoven into one, and it really kept your interest. Whereas Convicting a Murderer is more like a head-bashing exercise, focused mainly on Stephen's character, personality, his past crimes, and making sure that you never forget it. Whereas I think Making a Murderer opened up more discussion. For me, Convicting a Murderer is not something I want to see again. It's extremely painful to watch, very excruciating. Making a Murderer, the incredible thing about Making a Murderer is that every time you see it, you pick up new things.
Yes.
It's an amazing form of storytelling, because we have researched, and the whole panel and people in chat have devoted many, many years of research. You can now start to see how everything links beautifully together. Convicting a Murderer, in my opinion, missed out on a great opportunity to sort of say, all right, we're going to provide you the state's narrative of what actually happened to Teresa Horbach. We're going to use the forensic evidence. We're going to use testimony. We're going to prove that Stephen and Brendan committed this crime, and this is how they did it. There was none of that. None of that.
Doc, I put in my very simple mind, it works this way for me. When I watch Ma'am, I want to watch it over and over again, or at least refer to specific parts over and over again, because I want to research that, or because I misheard something or misunderstood something or thought, whatever. With Cam, there is nothing in the episodes that I watched that make me want to go back and say, oh, I didn't see that document, or I didn't read that document. I misunderstood that. Let me go back and re-listen to that or rewatch that. There's nothing like that in Cam that makes me want to refer back to any of their episodes for reference of facts or evidence or proof of anything, except for their hatred, their utter hatred of Stephen. And I don't need to reference that, and I don't need to go back and hear it.
Correct. And you see the success of a documentary series, any particular documentary series, is the repeated viewing, right? Because normally what happens is a documentary, a lot of people start watching it and then it tapers off really quick. With Making a Murderer, Convicting a Murderer has just now made Making a Murderer more watchable again, because people will go back and rewatch it and say, oh, okay, did I miss this? What did it show over here? And when you think about it, it took the film producers, filmmakers, a long period of time to put it together. It's a complex story, and they really pulled it off in that regard. To me, I believe that Convicting a Murderer missed out on a really golden opportunity, but there was a purpose. There was definitely a specific direction that Convicting a Murderer wanted to go. And as soon as I saw Candace, I just shook my head thinking, you got to be joking, right? It would have been much more powerful had someone, a resident of Wisconsin, been a narrator.
Or just let Brenda do it, just because, as I understood it, she was supposed to be the narrator between scenes anyway.
Correct. And, to get Candace, she made a major mistake, right? Saying that Stephen Avery was convicted of murder in 1985. Thinking
that was the first clip that her and Sean released back in May, and I'm thinking to myself, "Wait, what? What are you doing?"
Yep, you're thinking that can't be good. And like I said, I've only done a little bit of reading about Candace, what she's done. She's a very, very controversial type of figure. And deliberately so. To me, in my opinion, I believe it backfired very badly, because if Convicting a Murderer said, right, here's the evidence, and we're going to show you that both Stephen and Brendan are guilty of this crime, we're even going to do a reconstruction, right? I would have taken more note, thinking, okay, they've got something here. Let's look into it, right? But to spend 40 or 50% of your budget destroying Stephen, as we'll see in the clips coming up now, you're thinking, wait a minute, a lot of these are historical crimes, and he paid the price. He either got fined, he went to prison, right? But clearly, from what we saw in yesterday's clips, it wasn't enough. They had to keep on pounding Stephen into the ground, basically to convince everyone that this guy obviously had murdered Teresa Hallbach.
Well, yeah, and I don't disagree, and that's really kind of become the nature of our criminal justice system. If somebody's been in jail, I've seen this, and this has been going on it's not like brand new. It's been going on a long time. If somebody's been in trouble, depending on the trouble, but typically, if somebody's been in a little bit of trouble, been in jail, they paid their price, paid their fine, and they get out, it's still not enough. You're still screwed because you went to jail. Okay, I committed a crime. I got caught. I got found guilty. I went to jail for it. To me, I'm not saying it should completely wipe the slate clean, especially depending on what the crime is, but I don't think it should have as much weight held against a person as it does in our society, and it really, really does.
Yeah,
now, if you get somebody like a child molester, that kind of thing, that's different. That's people that are sick, to me, an opinion, they're sick in the head. They got problems, and they truly need to be removed from society. And if they're let back out, they got to be watched constantly, because a lot of these people can never get past it, no matter how much doctoring and medicine they get. They can't.
Correct. I mean, for me, the disappointing thing in a way is that convicting a murderer was acting as a judge, jury, and executioner, right? Yeah. And one of the biggest problems that we have in our society is the so-called tabloid journalism, right?
Yeah.
Whereby either journalists or documentaries and docuseries, they're going to be, like I said, judge, jury, and executioner. And that's a problem. That's why we have the legal system for stuff like that. Let the proper authorities deal with it. Let the proper authorities have the consequences. And that's why we have a judge. That's why we have a jury, right?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. And people have got to realize that Stephen and Brendan are in prison. They're doing hard time. And it's likely both, unless something happens, are going to die in prison, right? So I could understand this great big angst if both Stephen and Brendan were walking the streets free. Oh, we believe that there's been a miscarriage of justice here for poor Teresa, which we're all here for, right? But both men are in prison. And the most important thing, guys, is the fact that everyone is allowed to have an opinion.
That's right.
That's because if you no longer can have an opinion, that's the greatest form of censorship that you can have.
Well, we're done. We can all just blow up the tent and move on. We're done.
Yep. Have no more groups like Foul Play, have nobody coming in chat, have no more cordial discussions. Shut everything off now. And that's the danger, in my opinion.
YouTube would die on the vine in places like it.
Yep.
Hence the whole conversation that we had about the truthers, the definition, and the small print being the conspiracy theorists. So basically, they don't want us to talk about this and to question. And if you question, you're like anti-government or whatever.
Or you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, you're a troublemaker.
Yeah, like I said from yesterday, sorry, Neverly, is that the so-called state advocates believe that they've taken the higher ground. Like they don't believe in a conspiracy. They believe in, the judgment done by the jury, which is fair enough, right? Because both of them were convicted by 12 of their peers. But I believe that if you take away the right to question, to have a cordial discussion, I believe that's quite dangerous. because as we know, many people get released out of prison. They're exonerated on a weekly basis. It means that the system got it horribly wrong. Horribly
right.
wrong.
That's right. Some people, I mean, one guy from here in Michigan, probably a month ago now, he'd been in jail for like 37 years on a rape charge that the DNA proved he wasn't there. He didn't do it, and they had to let him go. So he'll probably walk away with some pocket change. But his life, I mean, you're probably talking basically 40 years of his life is gone.
Yeah, we remember we did a podcast on those 3 African Americans who spent an incredible. Remember the bite mark analysis?
That's right, Dr. Michael West, not
Yes.
Dr. West.
Yes, who some of them had spent a long period of time in jail, and
That's
we
right.
followed the story of some of them. And even though they got money, a lot of their lives were destroyed. A lot of the people that they loved either passed away or
That's right.
married somebody else, and their lives were effectively destroyed. And I remember discussing this with Neverly last week, I think, and she raised a very good point, and that is you got to have support systems in place when a prisoner walks out of prison, especially for someone who's been wrongfully convicted, who's had to bear the horrible burden and mental strain and anguish of being convicted for something that they didn't do.
Especially if they've been in there decades, right, Doc?
Oh, 100% correct. And then they walk out of prison, basically, see you later, mate. Welcome back to society. That's a recipe for disaster.
It is. Yeah. I agree. Well, you think about, when Stephen was convicted in 85, and then, you fast forward to 2003, there was a real paradigm shift in the world in that time frame. Computers were just really beginning to make any kind of headway in 85, but it still wasn't nothing like it completely blew apart in the mid 90s. It blew up. Everybody knows that. Cell phones blew up big time in the mid 90s as well.
The internet.
There was a real, there was a real world shift. I mean, I'm old enough. I know probably pretty much everybody on the panel, not telling anyone's age, remembers that shift. Anyway, another thing about Cam, you were talking about the differences in Cam and Mam. While, we all recognize Mam had his biases, and that's a lot of that's driven because the state refused to participate. That's their problem. But even with his biases, to me, it still left so many things open-ended. I was curious. I wanted to know. There was more I needed to know. To me, Cam is conclusionary, whatever the word is. It draws conclusions that you really got to, they're saying, how can you possibly believe blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to force you to believe their narration, which they did throughout the entire damn thing. The entire thing to try to talk you into Stephen and Brendan did it.
Correct. There was no room for negotiation, no room for questioning, and no room for doubt. Making a Murderer opened up the discussion. It certainly did not close the discussion. And as a result of Making a Murderer, there were many elements of the criminal justice system that I had no idea about. And it opened me up to a lot of cases that I never would have really read about, and it allowed me to come together with other people like you guys, forming groups and with common interests. But we're all very different, right? So it generated discussion. Cam wants to shut it down. Cam wants to shut it right down.
Right. I mean, we want all the books open. They want all the books closed and buried. That's the difference that any real truther that I know and any real guilter that I've been associated with. Oh, that stuff doesn't matter. You're not going to find anything. Well, how do you know until you look? How can you possibly understand that until it's given a fair shake? We know 100 times more than the jury ever knew in Brendan and Stephen's trial. Maybe that's unfair. I can't say for sure. But in any event, we know so much more than they ever knew. There's just absolutely, to me, there's absolutely no way that it could have come to a true conclusion based on what we know. Now, based on what Ken Kratz and Willis allowed in that trial, and probably a fear factor as well, I guess I can understand why they came to the conclusion they did. Plus the media. The media was a real problem. Not all the media, but the bulk of it. So there was a question that just rolled by. Maybe you want to answer that, Doc.
What was the question?
I'm trying to find it here. Was there an apology? I don't know who it was from. Random Pieces, I think.
No.
Jim
It was
Crane.
Jim Crane. It was Jim Crane
got
who was asking,
Crane.
did Stephen get an apology from Vogel or the sheriff or law enforcement after he was found not guilty? No, he did not. He never got one iota of an apology from anyone. The
No.
only thing Stephen got from being found not for being found innocent was the 400,000.
Well, he got 53,000 and change first, and that was in, I don't know, September. I don't know, sometime fall time of 2005. He got 50-something thousand. He had to pay a good chunk of that out for legal fees and some other stuff, and then he had, I don't know, 25,000-30,000 left, and he bought that big Ford F-350 truck with the rest of it. Yep. So,
yeah.
Go ahead, Alice. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, sorry, Alice.
No apologies at all. I mean, I missed last night's one, but I was catching up on the replay and things like that. And one of the questions Doc asked the panel and chat was, what did Ma'am make you think? Were they innocent or guilty? I mean, myself, it made me feel that they were innocent, especially the scenario with Stephen, you know, being in all the time in that jail, being innocent and then getting out and having all this money coming to him as payback for what happened. I cannot see. I just can't. And nobody has been able to show me anything else. I cannot believe that Stephen would be so stupid to do something like this.
No.
When he had that happening in his life. You know, he was trying to get his life back on track after being in jail for all that time. And then he's going to go and murder somebody. For what? Why? You know what I mean? There was no motive, no reason, no, you know, nothing, in my opinion, that I've seen.
He had 450. He had 450,000 coming to him probably in November of 2005. They were getting ready to give him the money, and that's not including his lawsuit. What could have potentially came from that?
Yeah, exactly, Jack. Now we all know for a fucking fact that there was no way Wisconsin was going to give Stephen Avery £36 million.
Oh, no.
You've always got to aim high with these things, especially court things and stuff like that. You've always got to aim high because it gets negotiated down until it's a reasonable amount that each side thinks is fair and everything like that. So we all knew that he wasn't going to get £36 million, but that's not the point. You know what I mean? The point is you had a lot of money coming in, whether it was £1 million or £500,000. It was a lot of money to Stephen, you know, and to the Avery family, period. Even though they had their own business and everything like that, that was going to be a shit ton of money, you know.
Damn right.
I can't see it. And Brendan, I mean, when it comes to Brendan, it's like, no. You know what I mean? Just no, period. I thought that poor laddie when I seen that. But most of all, what Ma'am did for me, like Doc says, it opened his eyes to the criminal justice system in America, especially in some states. Not every state is the same, which I've learned, but it is fucking dreadful no matter what. Now, my own justice system isn't fucking great either. We've had our own wrongful convictions and everything like that as well. So, but I'm sorry to say, it's a hell of a lot better than some of your states in America. You know what I mean? And that's just a fact, in my opinion, for what I see looking into the outside.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll let everyone else talk before we start getting to these clips. But we do have on the books, we have regulation and statutes and so forth, but they get ignored and nothing happens. That's the problem. We have things on the books, they get ignored. Nobody hauls their ass before a judicial review or anything, and they're allowed to get away with it. I can name one right now, which I still don't understand, and that's the May 13th interview that Kratz gave permission to happen without Brendan's lawyer. I don't care what Brendan's lawyer says. He can't abandon his client. You can't do it. And he did, and Kratz approved it because he wanted a 1 or 2 page confession, like Doc said. Done and done. Out.
Yep. And Dvorak,
so he fucking approved it. Go ahead. But nothing happened to Kratz at all. Len Kaczynski got his ass thrown off the case.
Yep. And remember, Dvorak made the comment about the fruits from the poison tree, right?
That's right.
Because they used part of his telephone call to his mother, where people interpret it as him admitting guilt, and he wasn't admitting guilt at all, right? And so it's interesting that on the one hand, that things were done incorrectly and wrong, yet they still benefit from that. And as we discussed yesterday, everything that could possibly go wrong with Brendan actually did. And it's a terrible lesson to learn. And hopefully that through Making a Murderer, people will learn those harsh lessons, that it's not to be repeated again. But unfortunately, I think it occurs on a daily basis. We haven't learned a thing. If the read technique is still available to be used by law enforcement, individuals who are susceptible to it are going to succumb and do false confessions. And the scary thing is, what happened to Brendan is not unique. There are people sitting in prison, both men and women, who succumb to the read technique, who are doing hard prison time, and those that have probably did plea bargaining deals to get a lower sentence, even though they did nothing wrong. That indicates to me that the system is badly flawed. I think Jack 61 Neverly had a comment. Neverly, did you have a comment?
Well, I was going to mention about Stephen's release from prison from the Penny Bernstein case.
Yep.
Remember how he said that all he wanted is apology, right? And he, from the law enforcement, from the court, from the state, of the state side, but they just ignored it. Not only did they ignored it, excuse me for just a second, Sky, move. Not only did they ignored it, but they were publicly saying, not only publicly, on camera, that Herman and Ken Peterson, they said, well, we're not so sure, about that one pubic hair, and DNA could be manipulated. It has been done before, and so forth. So they were still doubting science and his innocence. So what happened? They just released him. He couldn't be happier. Of course, we all saw that. And as James Crane pointed out again so perfectly and succinctly, that Ma'am was made in real time. They didn't know what was going to transpire. So they filmed it as it was happening, as it was really revealing. Where Cam, we know that actually could have been manipulated much more because they had a vicious agenda, in my personal opinion, and so forth. So in the real time, when all of that was happening, they're still doubting Stephen's innocence. And to me, that's just shocking more than anything. And
Well,
then,
yep.
Oh, go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was going to transition now to Cam. The first 4 episodes that they went out of their way to monster size Stephen, not vilify, monster size, right?
Yeah.
Because they brought out everything that anybody could say, all undocumented, all unwitnessed, right? It's all hearsay. So I'm thinking, all right, I see what you're doing over here. And remember also Judge Willis, what he said at the trial for Teresa when he was convicting him, and he said, "You're the most dangerous person that ever set
Yeah.
foot in this
That-
Foot in the court.
courtroom, right?
Yeah.
He was
And
looking
that
at
you're that
grass.
your yeah, and that your transgressions
Have increased.
or have increased. He said
Yep.
it actually in a worse way. I think that he said that your
Escalating. Crimes were escalating.
yeah, escalating. Yeah, crimes were escalating, right? In 2.5 years that he was out. Well, nobody talked. At least Ma'am mentioned it, but Cam never looked further into that. Why was this happening? If it was happening, if Stephen was such a monster, why didn't they offer to Stephen, when he was released from Penny Bernstein case, the re-entry program, which
Yeah.
every state has?
Yep.
After incarceration for so many years, especially if you are wrongfully incarcerated, come on, you would think that the state would offer something, if not money or apology, then follow their procedure and protocol, which is the re-entry program.
Correct.
And did you also know that there are 36 adult prisons in the state of Wisconsin? 36.
36.
Yes, I was shocked to learn that there are 36 adult prisons in one state
That's
of
crazy.
Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
Yes. So there is this reentry program in Wisconsin, and if you Google it, it comes up right away. And it says that it's a voluntary program and that it targets participants at high risk of reoffending while on supervision and who would benefit from the program's intervention strategies and resources, which include the combination of treatment, education, job skill trainings, and sanction alternatives in the supportive team atmosphere. Now, if somebody was worried that Stephen was gonna reoffend, if somebody was worried about this person who was wrongfully convicted and sat in jail 12 years longer than he should have, did they reach out to him? I'm telling you guys, if you Google it, it will tell you that there are 3 steps to the re-entry program. So when you punch that in your engine, it says that the re-entry program is perceived as a 3-stage process that Page 2, Taxman and colleagues from 2003 edition outlined and others have concurred with. That there's step 1, institutional, at least 6 months before release. Number 2, structured reentry, which is 6 months before release and 30 days after release. And the third step is integration, 31 plus days after release.
Yeah, let's start when they're still in prison to get them acclimatized to the outside world. Yeah.
So I'm kind of disappointed that Cam didn't look into that, if they're such professionals and seekers of truth, to what happened and why something happened. It's easy to blame somebody, right? And to point fingers. Right. But if you want to scratch below the surface a little bit, you need to know why something happened. If Stephen did all of this, if he was the most dangerous person that set foot in Wisconsin.
And escalating. And
escalated, exactly, that his crimes have escalated. I just think that it's very disappointing, very hypocritical, and very at surface level what Cam did with this overboard, hyperbolic monsterization of Stephen.
Correct. They're all excellent points. And remember, I think it was in Making a Murderer 2, when it looked like Brendan Dassey was going to be released, They actually had, remember, they had a special counselor involved.
Mediator, yes.
Yep. Basically, where is Brendan going to live? What are his daily needs? What does he have to do to reintegrate back into society? They had a case officer, right? Unfortunately, it didn't work for him. And that is what you highlighted, Everly, is a very important point. If you had concern of Stephen Avery potentially reoffending, right, surely you need some type of oversight program to make sure that he reintegrates back in society and has got all the support networks there. And I think Rhonda made the point, and others made the point, is that really all Stephen really wanted was an apology, an admittance that they'd made an error, they'd made a mistake.
Yeah.
They never offered that apology, right? And
No.
that's why in the end, Stephen went through the legal route. We mustn't forget. He didn't get a shotgun. He didn't go and see Kacerik and Vogel and blow them away, or go to the MTSO and put dynamite. No, he did it through legal means because he knew that he was never going to get an apology. Look, we're sorry. We're sorry for what happened. Here's $1 million, go away. Nope. They fought Stephen all the way. And look what happened. Now the guy's back in prison with his nephew. Disaster.
Complete disaster.
Becca's joined us in chat. Hi, Becca. And
Welcome.
She says that Brendan has still got that counsellor that we've seen in Mam. He's still got her, and she helps him with his anxiety and things like that. You know, the things that she was helping him before, filling out forms and, you know, just being there to make sure he's all right.
That's fantastic.
So that's really good.
Which is great.
Yeah, he's still got the same
commendable.
Person. Yeah.
And it's right on the state to follow their own policy, procedures, and programs that they set in place. Is anybody helping Stephen?
I don't.
After all, they were both convicted of the same crime. Actually, you know, 2 different times, 2 different manners, but basically the same crime.
That's right.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. But what if I could
all the state had to do? I'm sorry, Dr. Silkman.
No.
If they didn't want to give Stephen money, all they had to do, and if they didn't want to apologize, then set in place this program, rehabilitate this person that you wronged, which was proven that they wronged him. But Cam didn't talk about that, did they?
No.
Correct. And it's very interesting that Michael Griesbach was so incensed, because we've got his words, we've read his book, and we've seen it clips in Mam. He was so incensed about what the Attorney General said about whitewashing the entire investigation, that even Michael Griesbach was taken aback at what had happened and wanted to see proper justice being done. But to me, what the most disturbing aspect was, and I'll just make this comment, then shut up, I promise, was when they arrested Stephen Avery on November the 9th. Remember what Fassbender and Wiegert said to him? Oh, you've been locked away for something you didn't do. We understand if you committed this murder.
Yeah.
They even said to Stephen, we understand. Did you do it accidentally? Did she bump her head or something like that? And you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, these guys are telling Stephen Avery, we understand that you committed this murder because you were in prison for something you didn't do. And look what Neverly just said. You have a reintroduction program to ensure that people are looked after when they leave prison. And yet Fassbender and Wiegert were even admitting, oh my God, did Stephen do this as a result of being falsely convicted? And you're thinking to yourself, the horse is bolted. You can't, what's the point of shutting the gate now? Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, you think about this whole investigation that Peg ordered, and she whitewashed everything, which I think she, you know, probably was in kind of a fear for herself. politically, I don't think anybody would have tried to, do something physical to her, but at least politically, that she knew she couldn't open a full investigation into MTSO and really go after her and set things straight. I think that would have been political dynamite and a killer for her. So Stephen did exactly what he had to do. He hired Glenn and Kelly. They're two of the most respected lawyers at the time in the state of Wisconsin, civil lawyers. They had been criminal lawyers for many years, but they were civil lawyers at that time, and they were fantastic. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, anyone out there, lurkers or whatever, that are new or people that are new to the case, if you really want to understand the connection between the 85 case and the Halbach case, the 2005 case, you got to read the depositions and the reports that we finally have from those from what Amy Lemon and Deb Strauss did during that investigation. It is eye-opening, truly eye-opening. Okay, Rhonda, Kay, Mods, do we have questions before? I guess we ought to get to the first clip because we've got about an hour going. Any questions that we can answer right quick before we move on?
Phaedrix made a very interesting comment about when Fassbender and Wiegert said to Stephen, "Oh, maybe you accidentally killed her." Yes, it was part of the Reed technique. Yeah,
absolutely,
100% correct.
Yep.
Minimize the damage. That's exactly what they did to Brendan. Oh, maybe Uncle Stephen made you do it. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Yep, it is very much part of the Reed technique. Correct.
Yeah. Rhonda, anything starred that we can get to right quick? I see a couple up here.
There's a couple starred. James Zimmerman, kind of off topic, but if you want to address it now, you can. What happened to the newspaper man that said they seen Bobby pushing the Rev?
Well, that's where we're at right now. Actually, in the legal maneuvering, it's going through it's at the Court of Appeals right now. And Zellner's brief is due on the 18th of December, which if she doesn't ask for another extension. And so then, after that, but you're talking about Tom Sawinski, that we finally got early last year, we got, part of the call that he made to MTSO that had been withheld for 17 years, or however long, that nobody had heard. But we don't have the other end of the conversation where Sawinski talked to MTSO Sergeant Singlove. We don't know what was said, but it's pretty much a proven thing. So it's going to have to go through the legal process on that. That's where we're at with the newspaper guy, which again is Tom Sawinski, who said he saw Bobby and an unidentified bearded man pushing the Rav up Avery Road. We'll see where that goes. And then Graham Moss has a question here.
Graham says, does anybody on the panel and in chat think Fassbender and his crew knows who killed TH?
Doc, you want to address that?
In my opinion, no. I can't. We can do a whole podcast on this as well, but I think if they looked hard enough, they could have easily found other potential suspects who were just as dangerous as Stephen Avery was. And I had a discussion with Jack 61 about a week or so ago. I reckon that Chuck Avery was probably this close of being arrested by Skorlinski. Would you agree, Jack 61?
Absolutely. He was everything but saying the words to me.
Yep. Yeah, and when I read the DCI report, I was completely shocked what Skorlinski told Chuck Avery, and he also mentioned a historical murder, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, these guys know. They're not silly, but of course, if you're going to suggest that somebody else murdered Teresa Halbach, you need a direct connection and you need forensic evidence.
That's
to
right.
strengthen the case. But was there suspicion? Yes. A lot of suspicion. A lot.
Well, yeah, because of history and so forth. That anybody can request these prior incidents with Chuck. He's had a lot. Hey, it is who he is, and we can't sugarcoat it in any way, and we're not going to. So
Yep.
people can draw their own conclusions, but there's no doubt he had a violent and a real rage at times. There's no doubt.
The impression I got
And not
was
only that. Oh,
no, go Neville.
go ahead, Dr. Silkman.
I was going
Not
to say.
only that he had a. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to quickly say, I don't think they had any problem in arresting all three brothers. That's the impression I got. But you probably would have made the case much harder to stick. But their main focus of attention was on Stephen Avery. Correct. Sorry, Neville.
Well, that's okay. I was going to say for Chuck, not only that he fits every single point of the Danny suspect, not only because he has a prior history of violence towards women and like being a stalking, and we talked about all of that, right? And we talked about it a lot. But also, he had a lot to lose by Stephen being out. Remember, Stephen was his parents' favorite. He was treated with like golden gloves, right?
Yes.
Maybe because he was wrongfully convicted, maybe because they felt bad for him. Remember, Ma Avery was like super supportive of him while he was in prison, and she was taking those 5 kids from prison to prison, sometimes 3-4 hours on the icy road to see their father and all of that. So when Stephen came out,
yeah,
exactly, they wanted to help him out. However, while Stephen was in prison for 18 years, life went on. The sun rose again. The business was established by this point. Papa Avery was there. Chuck and Earl were very, very, very involved. That was their sole employment and means of sustaining their lives and livelihoods and their personal life and so forth. So here comes Golden Child Stephen, an overnight celebrity with a prospect of receiving millions of dollars, not necessarily 36, but millions of dollars and fame, and a poster chart for Innocence Project, shaking hands with the officials and so forth. Chuck and Earl would need to share now that property in 3 parts, not in half.
No, he wasn't.
Right?
They excluded Stephen. They excluded
exactly.
Stephen.
Yeah.
So for Chuck, he saw Stephen as a threat when it comes to the salvage yard, my interpretation, of course. And then we have evidence of Chuck being sweet on Jody.
Yes.
All along. So he was going to take everything away from Stephen.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
so to me, Chuck makes sense.
That was a comment. Sheila Hawkins said she hadn't gotten to Chuck's calls yet. You really need to listen to those calls that we got early this year between Chuck and Jody. They are really, really interesting, and they really direct you to some behind the scenes stuff that is really never brought out, at least not so much on paper. A little bit on paper, but it's really in the phone calls. Jesus Christ.
Correct. And it's amazing that when you scratch the surface and you do a little bit of research and you actually listen to the words that Stephen said, it all makes 100% sense. And but I don't think I put the picture on X. I haven't really discussed very much about Chuck Avery per se, but Stephen said that the reason why he called Teresa Horbach in the afternoon, it was because when he checked the Auto Trader magazine, he had actually seen the fact that they were selling end loaders. And Stephen said, I wanted to call Teresa to come back and take a photograph of one of the end loaders that we had for sale. And it was next to the blue garage. And he was 100% correct. And I found the photograph that showed the end loader that was just next to the blue garage. There's crime scene tape around the close to the end loader. And guess what? About 20 feet from the end loader, what is there, Jack 61? The station wagon that had the folded up number plates.
Yeah.
Right next to the end loader. And you think to yourself, this cannot be a coincidence, guys. It cannot be. You've got the end loader here, and you've got the station wagon that the fire chiefs, guys, found the rolled up number plates right in close proximity. That's amazing.
Okay. Rhonda.
Yeah,
it was. Rhonda, Kay, Sri, Alice, any more questions we can get to before we move on? I want to play this clip.
Yeah, we need to get on to the clips because we're already an hour in. But I think this is interesting. By JJ Falk Jr. says, I've talked to Chuck on Facebook, and he said there was a lot of things that he knew would help Stephen. I asked, would he get up with KZ? And he said he already has and told her he is willing to testify. So that's interesting.
That is interesting. I hadn't heard that before.
No, I hadn't heard that.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. This is a good time I think to play our first clip here. Moving on, this is going to be clip 5. We left off at clip 4 last night, so let's play clip 5 and we can talk about it, give a rebuttal. All right, here we go.
Surrounded by a bad cast of characters. Oh, it was the friends that influenced him poorly. Excuse after excuse after excuse.
The idea that he would explain it as he fell in with the wrong crowd when he was the one who was applying this flammable liquid to a family pet just didn't equate with what I had been led to believe.
That's a pretty big deal, and I think actually flipped a lot of people right off the bat to say, oh, that's a sign of bad stuff to come.
I'm going to pause this right here because I just feel I have to. This was one incident. One. It wasn't a multiple animal torture, which we see in a lot of serial killers that really have no empathy at all, that will hurt an animal of any kind, cat, dog, it doesn't matter. If you're willing to torture an animal, many animals, let me put it that way, I think you got a real problem. This was one incident. I don't know of any others ever. I know the hearsay one that Earl talked about in episode 1 or 2, but that's unproven. And if it actually happened, why didn't Earl call the police and get help for the damn dog? It's just bullshit to me. You gotta, that kind of thing is to come along later and say something happened that was that bad and you don't do anything. You're the one, you've got just as much a problem as the person you're accusing of doing it, to me.
Absolutely.
So this is one incident, and they all should have gotten in trouble for it. It was actually Jerry Yonda that threw the cat in the fire. Yeah, Avery did pour the gas and oil, whatever the hell, on that cat, and he shouldn't have done it, and he should have been punished for it. I totally agree. You don't do that. I don't give a damn what you are, drunk or what. There's other things you can do that are, I think, even being, kind of screwed up in your head, high or whatever, that could be far more entertaining. Just listen to some freaking music or something, Jesus Christ. So, one incident, that's it. He was involved with other people, and they're trying to separate Stephen out from this and not place responsibility on all those that were there.
I think that's 100% correct. And in actual fact, we've got the original police report, which I think is important to actually read out. The problem is that what you just said is 100% correct. There were 3 people involved. All 3 were equally guilty. All 3 should have been punished the same. Unfortunately, Stephen Avery picked up the rap for it. He said so deliberately because he knew that the others were in trouble. So basically, he got the full rap, and I believe he went to prison. And I remember when we had this discussion with Brenda, what did we all say to Brenda?
Same thing I just said.
We do not condone animal cruelty. It's a shocking thing that he did, and he paid the price. And I even said to Brenda, I would have doubled the sentence. So
That's
he
right.
100%.
That's right. That's right. And this police report that we've got was from Jerry Yonda. He came in and admitted that it was him that did it. I guess it weighed on his mind. I don't really know why, but he's the one that finally came in and admitted it was him. And I think he got a $200 or $300 fine. I probably maybe something else. I don't remember the total punishment that he got. But I think it's important like that. This is a 1982 report. I think we've got it. We put it out there. We do not condone any of that shit at all. And for people, like Convicting, they're trying to lump us into people that say, well, that's okay. The fuck it is. You don't do that kind of shit. We don't believe in that at all. So anyone that tries to say, if you're an advocate for the truth, for what we feel is wrong with the convicted people, and people are trying to say, well, you guys just, this guy, he killed a cat and all this. We don't condone that shit at all, ever. Anyway, all right, I'll back it up here just a tick, and we'll continue on. I just thought it was important to address that right now.
Stuff to come.
What is it that's said about individuals that can harm innocent animals? What is the common understanding of what those individuals are capable of later in their lives?
Sometimes people say that cruelty to animals is a precursor, like a first early sign of violence toward humans. So a lot of people have made that connection.
That was only a one-time deal, and once I stopped hanging around with them people, I didn't have no problem then.
Yeah, and again, she you heard Candace, she said animals like it was a lot, like it was more. And that's absolutely not what happened at all. It was one time. So go ahead, Doc.
And it could be a precursor. It doesn't have to. And we're not
Yes.
talking about history of mutilating multiple animals, as you said.
That's right.
Correct. And it's important to note that we told Brenda right off the bat that was a despicable act, a horrendous thing to do. All of us here on the panel, and I'm sure people in chat, have pets, family pets. They love their animals. They treat them like family, and so you should. What Stephen did with the presence of two other adults was completely reprehensible. They should have all been charged. They should have all gone to prison. And it's very interesting that Cam decided to focus and lay the blame only on one person, and that was Stephen, because their agenda is to make him look as guilty as possible. And Jack 61, you've got it on the screen, right? And if
Yes.
This is important to go through. This was a self-reported crime. So in other words, one of them, I believe it was Jerry Yonda, who actually went to the sheriff's office or the police department and
Correct.
reported the act to the detective or the person on duty. And there was three of them, not just Stephen. It was Stephen, Jerry Yonda, and Peter Dassey. All
Right.
three of them were present around the fire and involved in throwing the cat in the fire.
And this is a statement that Yonda wrote out, and he said it. He spelled it all out, and like I said, so to just, I don't remember. I know Jerry had some other issues. I don't remember what they were at the time. That's why Stephen ended up taking the rap for it.
Yes.
I don't know what Pete had on his record or whatever. But regardless of the fact that we're trying to get the full truth out there, not this partial story. Again, we think it was wrong, completely wrong. You don't do this kind of thing ever.
100%. But the important thing here, Jack 61, is that no one said, I don't think this is a good idea. What the hell are you doing, Stephen? Or what the hell are you doing, Jerry? No, I don't think this is a good idea. Let's stop doing this. Oh, no.
No.
All three of them participated, right?
That's right.
And look at that. Look how old Jerry was. 18.
Right.
All three of them were probably intoxicated like hell. And you know, when you have that stupid bravado where you egg each other on, that's probably what had happened. But what Jerry wrote, what the detective wrote about what Jerry said, we need to read out, because I have an awful feeling that it was Jerry Yunder who's the habitual cat burner.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly right. Let me see here, Doc. It says here, is it in this report? I think it is, isn't it?
It's the one that's typed up.
Yeah. Intention to mistreat an animal, to wit, pursued cat and started it on a fire, contrary to section 94802. This offense is punishable upon conviction and by fine not to exceed 10,000, or by imprisonment not more than 9 months, or both. Class A misdemeanor. The claim further alleges that he has informed reports of Kenneth J. Peterson, known to the complainant to be an officer with the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Office, on September 2nd, 1982. He reported to the Two Rivers Police Department, where he was informed by Sergeant Wilda that Jerry Yunder had reported to the department and informed Sergeant Wilda that along with Stephen Avery, he had started a cat on fire and burned it to death. The officer Peterson, after advising Jerry Yunder of his Miranda rights, received a written statement from Jerry Yunder where he admitted, along with Stephen Avery, he took the cat while it belonged to Stephen Avery and poured gas and oil on it, and they threw it on a bonfire, then watched it burn until it died. The officer Peterson was further informed by Peter Dassey that he was present at Stephen Avery residence. Stephen Avery was suggested burning a cat. That Peter A. Dassey informed Officer Peterson that Jerry Yunder and Stephen Avery started a fire and then got the cat, poured gas and oil on it, and threw the cat on the fire.
There's a page that I sent you as a picture.
Okay. Is it part of this? It may be part of this report.
It's probably right at the end, I would say.
Jack, while you're searching for that, I put a link in the.
Here it is.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Sorry, we studied this kind of at length. I had an entire course in college about serial killers, and one of the things that we discussed was the McDonald triad, and that is a model that I put a link in the chat to read this article. And that article basically says that it was widely believed many years ago that there were three signs, and I think a lot of us know the three signs that predate or possibly could predict somebody being a serial killer. Animal cruelty was one, fire setting was the other, and bedwetting was the third. The article also asks the question, is it accurate? And it says it's worth noting that McDonald himself didn't believe that his research found any definitive link between these behaviors and adult violence. But that hasn't stopped researchers from seeking to validate a connection between the McDonald triad and violent behavior. It's a very interesting article, and it's a very interesting theory that I would, since we're talking about this part of Stephen Avery's life, I suggest that you take a couple of minutes to read this article and then do some other research on the McDonald triad, because it is no longer, the FBI used to use it as part of their profiling, but it's not necessarily as readily accepted as it used to be. So just based along the lines of this part of Stephen's past, with his taking part in that incident, like you guys have said, it wasn't animals, it was an animal. There's no evidence of any animal cruelty prior to this when he was younger, which is when it would likely have began. Being a predisposition to being cruel to animals. So I don't know. Just check out the article and do some research on the McDonald triad. What they're trying to say here, what they've been saying all along about Stephen being cruel to animals. So yes, of course, that means he would be a murderer. That's not necessarily readily accepted anymore. Sorry, I had
Thank
to
you,
have a little-
Rhonda.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Rhonda, for saying that. But you see, the whole cat incident rhetoric played into vilifying Stephen, as Candace just pointed out eloquently, that many people have jumped onto that bandwagon because it's like a known factor. So they use this to make a murderer of Stephen because of his, Ken Kratz flat out called him a sociopath and a narcissistic psychopath. What did he call him?
Correct.
He diagnosed him himself.
Yeah.
So they needed that. So it's another tool, basically, that they use to create Stephen into this monster. So that's why they paid so much attention to the cat. And person in chat, it's possible, Tina, she said, like the police ever did anything when they were young, right? So, but they needed this piece of information to go on and on and on and on to create a picture of Stephen.
Doc pointed this out. Doc, here, when you get done with your comment, you want to read this part out where it says over there, where it says, it was also learned.
Yep. Let's hold on. I've got it up here. Yep. I'll read it. It was also learned that the suspect, Jerry Youngda, had called the Sheriff's Department, City of Manitowoc Police, and the Two Rivers Police Department, asking and reporting that he had burned the cat. He stated in all instances that he knew the police were looking for him. When asked why the police were looking for him, he would state burning cats. Right? So that tends to suggest that the real instigator of burning a cat actually came from Jerry Youngda. And it appears to me that Jerry Youngda admitted to habitual animal cruelty. Right?
He did right there. And we don't know any conversations that could have happened prior to any of the stuff, and they were just sitting around drinking beer. We don't know.
Correct.
And again, I'm not trying to justify it. I know Doc's not. This is not a justification for doing it at all.
No, but the thing is this, right? You need, as just Rhonda said, you need to build up a jigsaw puzzle piece.
Yes.
You need to connect this piece as why something that Stephen did in 1982 with two others now has significance to what occurred in 2005, right?
23 years later.
Right? So in other words, this incident was a precursor. This is what Cam is saying. Yep. They're suggesting that this incident that took place while Stephen likely was very badly intoxicated in the presence of two other people was one of the precursors of him killing Teresa Halbach. Now, what is interesting is that Ken Kratz in his book, right, guys, said, remember what Ken Kratz said? He thought about killing a woman every day. Every day. Yep. So in other words, they're making him to be this psychological, pathological killer who just had to wait for the right opportune moment to come and kill Teresa Halbach in the middle of a civil lawsuit, in the middle of being the poster child of the Innocence Project, and in the middle of potentially receiving millions of dollars, and in the middle of being on the news just about every day. So people knew who Stephen Avery was. Stephen Avery wasn't this anonymous person just hiding behind the shadows. People knew who he was. And in actual fact, I read the other day Tom Pierce's trial testimony. He goes, Oh, Teresa even told me, goes, guess what? Look, you know who I'm photographing cars for? That guy that's in the newspapers for the Innocence Project. Teresa knew who Stephen Avery was, right?
Yep.
Yes, yes. But you see, Danny Malice just pointed out a good fact that Stephen didn't even like hunting. So you have this pathological, sociopath, narcissistic psychopath who wanted to get some and killed a woman, burned a cat, yet he didn't like hunting. But they didn't talk about that, did they?
No, and Brendan Dassey faints at the sight of blood.
Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I think it's important to
they
note
just
that
needed to create
Go ahead,
a
Avery.
picture of Stephen. I'm so sorry.
No, you're
Yeah.
fine. Well, I think the other important part about Cam as well, they're saying, oh, well, you know, making a murder whitewashed and left this out. But what did Cam leave out? There's no chance in hell that they didn't know about this report. And I'm going to say Brenda, without knowing for sure, but I'm going to bet she has this report about the Jerry report that we just put up on the screen. I'm going to bet she has it. So what did they leave out? What is this? I'm trying to think of the right word of what they did. They're trying to mislead the audience and say this is all Stephen. Go ahead, Stout.
100% correct. If you just listen to Cam, you think, oh my God, Stephen did this and it was his idea and he threw the cat in and yada, yada, yada. Whereas the blame had to be equally divided amongst all three. A bunch of yahoos, intoxicated, did a completely stupid act, right?
Yes.
And you can't condone. All of them deserve to go to prison. But unfortunately, Stephen was the one that took the rap for it. And quite clearly, I don't think he did that again, right? Like if you imagine, right, if Mama Avery went into his bedroom or whatever, and they found animal skeletons, skulls of cats, skulls of dogs, skulls of deer hanging from the rafters, you might be thinking, this is a kid in the making, right? But by God, he was involved in one incident and I would have doubled the sentence, the jail sentence to him. He didn't get off scot-free. I think he learned his lesson. I really do.
And then they had Earl, again, blab this hearsay story about what Stephen allegedly did to Bear.
Yeah,
and
correct.
Yet, if it was so bad, why didn't Earl pick up the fucking phone? Pardon my French.
Correct. And also, you don't know whether Bear actually got attacked, and that's why he was bleeding, right? I can't imagine Earl standing at the end of Avery Road watching his brother drive in the dog.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think
so. And to just tickle our amygdala a little bit, we can expand this subject. If we're saying that, Stephen killed a cat, therefore he's a killer of Teresa, of a human being, right? And then he burned her and everything else, so forth, not to minimize what was done to her. We don't know actually what was done to her, but anyways, then does this mean that all those poachers in the world and hunters of protected animals are also psychopaths and killers? Just saying.
Well,
just saying. I mean, it's one thing to kill a deer and eat the meat, but what business do you have to kill a bear? Are you going to eat the bear?
Some people do.
Or elephant?
I don't know about elephant. I think they're after the tusk on the elephant, but some people do eat bear.
There you go. Really? I've never heard of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You never heard of mountain oysters?
No.
Rocky Mountain oysters?
Those are bison. Those are bison.
Rocky Mountain oysters don't have anything to do with. I'm confused, Jack. What do you think Rocky Mountain oysters are?
Well,
I think they are found on a bison.
No.
Well, mountain oysters.
But anyways, my point is generalizing.
I'm sorry.
Generalizing a subject like that or a factoid like that Stephen killed a cat, therefore he killed Teresa, and we should have foreseen that, is a little bit too much for me to swallow. Yet Many, many, many people, according to Candace, if we're to believe her, that was the turning point for them, that yes, he killed Teresa.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe we should move on from this subject.
We will, but that's the speculative leaps that Brenda made all the time with us, and we were saying, hey, wait a minute, he did this, but he paid the price. He went to prison. He never repeated this, as far as I'm aware.
And he wasn't the only one involved.
Correct. And Jack 61, have you got that little clip of the newspaper clipping? Have you got that picture? It's the one that says "man fined for animal cruelty."
Oh yeah, I do. I'll get that just a second.
Yep. So for me, my main objection is you don't condone that. But if you're going to tell a story like that, you need to tell the full story, not just highlight just Stephen, right? All three were at fault. All three should have been charged. All three should have gone to prison, right? Tell the entire story, not just part of it.
Here we go. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Yeah,
popped in there.
Yeah. So you can clearly see, and it actually even says it in the newspaper clip. Yunda admitted to throwing gasoline and oil on a cat and throwing the animal into a bonfire. Right there.
Yeah, here's the newspaper clipping that Doc sent me. He got the fine, but I think it is pointed out they were already. We don't really have any information. I've never requested the incidents about Jerry Yunda, what other potential problems he had with animal cruelty, but clearly he did. He admitted to it, right? So,
correct.
All right. Rhonda, Mods, any other questions before we move on to the next clip? I'll get this off the screen here.
Kay says it seems like everyone is having a ball in the chat. Yeah, I think most of the conversation now has turned to testicles and balls of hooved animals.
Sorry, I brought up the oysters. We'll move on along.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move into the next clip. It's going to be about, at least starting about Sandra Morris. So let me throw this up on the screen and we'll take a listen and give a rebuttal. Here we go.
Your case was pending when Stephen Avery was arrested for having allegedly assaulted Mrs. Bernstein. Is that right?
I believe so. That Sandra Morris thing, I think what it did for me was it kind of had the whole idea of why the police had their eyes on Stephen Avery.
Stephen Avery was wrongfully convicted in 1985 for the assault of Penny Bernstein on a beach in Manitowoc County.
This is the case that made Stephen Avery a public figure in Wisconsin.
He tried for years to prove that he was innocent, and he was undoubtedly innocent.
Throughout the trial, Avery maintained his innocence. At his sentencing, he said, "I wish they'd catch the guy, whoever did it, because I didn't do it, honest to God."
It was a very violent attack. I mean, they describe it, she wasn't raped, but she was assaulted pretty brutally. I was thinking, Avery hadn't graduated to the violence like that. So that bothered me.
Stephen went to trial, and he was found guilty and sentenced to 32 years in prison. And Lori's left behind with the 5 kids, and he wanted her to send him porn.
There were naked pictures that she sent.
All right.
Now, am I allowed to say a couple of comments?
Please.
This goes to show how fucking ridiculous this whole program is, right? And I'll tell you why. We just heard a clip that Stephen Avery went to prison for something he didn't do, right? Spent an extra additional 12 years for a crime he didn't commit. What was the focus of Brenda? Was it talking about the wrongful conviction, how it destroyed his life? Oh,
Nope.
no. What was her final comment? Oh, Stephen wanted some pictures of porn.
Yeah, he wanted his wife to send him some porn photos.
So the emphasis was, yeah, okay, the guy got literally destroyed his whole life, and we'll see how his whole life went upside down, completely destroyed, lost everything near and dear to him. What does Brenda say? Oh, Stephen wanted some porn. Now,
right.
Let's get this straight. At the time, Lori was his wife. Do we, the public, need to know salacious details of what a husband requested his wife to do?
No.
Do we honestly need to know that?
No, it's not even relevant unless he's requesting that she harm, and unless he's requesting that she harm someone, create some kind of act outside of between them two. Other than that, no.
And not only that, how many millions of men and women, for that matter, enjoy looking at porn, and not all of them are murderers. Just so ridiculous to me. Ugh.
And you can't actually send porn.
No.
Because all the mail gets screened. So, I mean, maybe to her, porn is, some really low cleavage. There are strategic ways that you can send stimulating photographs to someone in prison, but
sure,
Dr. Silkman's right, that it's just irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
but
it is irrelevant because
it's misleading. Again, they're trying to lead. Go ahead, Alice. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean that is completely misleading. If you go to any prison, I don't care whether it's here in the UK, whether it's in America, whether it's in fucking Germany or Spain or whatever, if there is a prisoner in there who's got a wife, are you trying to tell me that they haven't got a topless picture or something like that pinned on
even
their wall?
Or even a girlfriend, or even that's right.
Or a boyfriend or whatever. You know what I mean? Christ, here in the UK, we had a newspaper called The Sun. We still do have The Sun. But back in the 80s and the 90s, when I was growing up and my lad was growing up, The Sun newspaper, on page 3 of that Sun newspaper, there was a lassie topless. A full page picture of a topless lassie on the 3rd page of the newspaper that got printed in every shop, every store, every news outlet. You know what I mean? Back in the 80s and the 90s. So back then, it wasn't as, oh my God, is what it is now. You know what I mean? Any bit of flesh showing now, and oh my God, it's pornographic. You know what I mean? So, but that's my point is, any prisoner with a wife or a husband or whatever have got that some sort of photo like that on their wall. I guarantee it. You know what I mean? So they're trying to make something out of nothing with trying to bring. I mean, why did they even have to mention Lori, period, apart from saying that she was married to Stephen and she's now not? You know what I mean? They didn't even have to bring their 40s into the equation.
Well,
but
they're trying to make they're trying to make this equation here. This oh well, he's just a porn hound. He's a sex freak and a sex maniac, right, Doc?
Okay.
Yeah, they're just painting a picture, building, the picture.
But Kay is right. They screen all the mail that comes in and goes out. So if it would have been anything nudity or anything, it would have never gotten to Stephen. Anyway, Right?
Yeah, and Cher brought a good point. She said they were a married couple, for God's sake.
Right.
Correct.
Jack, I just, sorry, I know
for
we're
a guy, you can, get stimulated by a girl in a JCPenney catalog. It doesn't have to be naked or whatever. You know what I mean? Just
That's
take a picture of anybody walking down the street nowadays, women in skimpy clothing. You don't have to, that's not considered porn. That's just fashion right now. You know what I mean? It's just like ridiculous what they're saying, but it creates a picture, an illusion of a monster.
That's right.
Correct. Sorry, just run
I know.
that.
Sorry, I know we're trying to move on, and but since we're talking about this, I believe that there's there are differences in different prisons. When my brothers were in prison here in southern Utah, they would ask one was married, one had a girlfriend, ask them for nude pictures of them. Hey, send me your, show me your tits, things like that. They were allowed to receive those pictures from the wife and the girlfriend. They just weren't allowed to display them on their walls where other inmates could see them. So that's just here at the prison where my brothers were. But I know that all prisons have their own rules, and yes, Kay's right. They are all screened. All those letters are screened. And my brothers used to laugh and joke about how they knew that whoever was screening the mail was getting off on their wife and their girlfriend's nude pictures. So, I think it depends on the prison. But like the other lady, the other person in chat said, they were a married couple. If she did try to send him porn and it was allowed, and it was pictures of her, if it was allowed in that prison, so fucking what?
Exactly.
Who the fuck cares? It's not, they cannot have any children, of course. They can't have any, some prisons don't even allow inmates to have pictures of children unless it's their own children. So, the rules are different everywhere, but it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't make Stephen a murderer or a rapist.
Well, imagine with all these selfies now, what people send between each other or post on Instagram and wherever else. And if we're going to go into Kratz's phone, what he's got over there. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's, again, they're stretching.
But the danger here is when you're trying to string out something that you've got nothing. You've got nothing. You need to stretch out this narrative
and make this leap.
Brenda made the leap when Stephen had asked his cousin to get in the car. Brenda said he was going to rape her. And we said, wait a minute, that didn't happen. Why are you drawing that conclusion? Second, Stephen burnt the cat. That means that potentially he was going to leap and kill a human being. And we said, wait a minute, you can't draw that conclusion. And now Stephen asked his own wife to see some naked pictures of his own wife. All of a sudden, he's a bad guy. He's a pervert. He's a sexual deviant, etc., etc. So you're getting all these elements where you've got no proof, and you're trying to jam together a narrative and hope to God it sticks. It's like throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? So I have a lot of objection to that. I really do.
I think it's it goes right along with as truthers, I've heard so many different theories and speculations, and we've talked about this, and I'll briefly say it one more time. If you don't have a connection between your speculatory whatever to what you think probably happened, I can't follow you. We have to have more. We have to have something to connect that. If you don't have anything between, how are you making it to this leap over here? It's like some people believe that there's two Ravs. Well, maybe there is, but I can't make that leap because I need more than what we've got. I can't make that leap.
Correct.
Same thing here. Same thing here, Doc.
Correct. So when you're trying to put this tapestry together that doesn't make any sense. It's a real worry. And that's why I believe that the case against Stephen was so poor. It really, really was, and so circumstantial. You can see that one of the big focuses that Convicting a Murderer had was, okay, let's do a psychoanalysis of Stephen Avery when he was a young man and when he was in prison, right?
They had to.
Correct. At no stage did they say, shit, this guy got put in prison for something he didn't do. How did that affect him mentally? How did that cause his whole total breakdown between his wife, his kids, society at large, the whole gamut? They never ever went there. No. When he got released, he got literally placed back into the Avery salvage yard, which we knew, right, Jack 61, that people, the brothers especially, were committing all sorts of crimes and charged with all sorts of crimes, and he was now thrust back in that environment.
That's right.
And it was a disaster for him, a complete utter disaster.
Absolutely.
Hence the re-entry program.
Yes, excellent.
That I talked about an hour ago.
Excellent point. Correct.
Well, sure, because they didn't even seem to consider the environment that he was going back into, knowing if they had followed anything at all. I mean, I don't think they had to dig very deep of the problems that Chuck had, the issues that Earl had, and that's a real thing. And to ignore it, they tried to kind of justify it with Earl. They didn't really with Chuck because he didn't appear on screen. I mean, they had clips of him they showed, but that was just old clips. He wasn't involved like Earl was. So, again, making these leaps, a lot of truthers are criticized for making their theories. Well, hellfire, man. They're not looking at what they're trying to do here. And I think it's an important point, like Doc said.
Correct. But you see, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to go back to Stephen being a deviant, asking for sexy pictures of his wife.
Yeah.
Didn't end if he had proclivity for vile pornographic material. Andy Colburn himself said that they were not impressed by his collection.
Right.
So where is this continual behavior or history of a pattern of Stephen being so deviant sexually?
Made up.
Totally. So as Dr. Silkman said, they had such a thin, flimsy circumstantial case that they had to hold on and blow up all these things from, before Christ, pretty much, to bring it into the picture.
Well, look, like I said right at the beginning, Cam had this great opportunity to start from episode number 1. We're going to prove to you that Stephen and Brendan had committed this crime. Here's the forensic evidence. We're going to talk about that. They didn't. Then they came up with this unbelievable hypothesis from Sarah Faust about the burning of the life scent that somehow went on to the Western Berm. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, Sarah Faust never even got to testify. So when you're putting speculation as some of your strongest points, you know that you're in big, big trouble. And 10 episodes, they burnt 4 or 5 of them literally on focusing on Stephen when he was a young man and his activities. And that's it.
Yep. All righty. Rhonda, Kay, Mods, any questions we need to hammer right quick before we move on? Hey, Gala, good to see you. If anyone doesn't know, Galateki is my second oldest son.
We need to watch him.
You watch him close, guys.
You gotta watch him really close, you guys.
Damn straight.
I'm gonna let the other mods look at the chat, and because I need to not be talking so much, I get too worked up.
No, not at all.
There is a comment here from Clive. It's a bit off topic. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up so we can deal with it right now. How come Bobby committing perjury did not trigger a new trial?
the judge never actually made a ruling.
No.
The judge never went back and made a ruling on it.
Exactly right. So that's why, Clive. It just fell by the wayside. Alrighty. Okay. Everybody ready for? Do we have anything else?
No, I reckon we're good. We just got a couple of more clips and we're done.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna put up clip 7 and we can dissect it. Got any questions? Again, put a Q in the chat in front of it and in the live chat, and we'll get to it. All right, here we go. Clip 7.
Years behind bars, Stephen Avery is a free man.
In 2003, he was finally able to have DNA testing prove that one of the pieces of hair that was left after the rape kit was performed belonged to Gregory Allen.
It became a huge story in Wisconsin when he was freed. It was a story that was in the news for a long time with the efforts to compensate him.
To make up for those 18 years, some lawmakers believe Avery should receive nearly $500,000 in compensation. Avery says
You hear a lot of the times that he was in prison for 18 years for a wrongful conviction.
While Avery did serve time for a rape he did not commit, 6 years of that 18-year sentence was for an incident in which he ran a woman off the road and pointed a rifle directly at her.
To be clear, 6 years of those were for the Sandra Morris case.
I feel badly for anybody who spends time in prison for something they didn't do. You know, obviously the system is very flawed.
Penny Bernson was crushed, absolutely devastated.
There are nights when I go to bed and feel like, you know, it would be a blessing if I didn't wake up in the morning.
She said the day she found out about Stephen Avery being wrongfully convicted that it was worse than the day she was assaulted.
But for all her guilt, she knows she didn't make this mistake alone. So she told the task force she wants to help fix the system that failed Stephen Avery.
I mean, you could hear Antoinette Levy herself. She said the system is so flawed. Come on, she knows it. Go ahead, Doc.
I just want to make a couple of comments, right? You could almost see the disgust in Brenda, right?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, he got convicted for something he didn't do. But notice what she had to put in.
Yeah, tack it on.
But he had to do 6 years for running his cousin off the road. So the emphasis was not so much at all on the wrongdoing, what happened to Stephen. The emphasis was, 1, he had to do 6 years anyway. So we have to discount those 6 years. 2, the grand effect it had on Penny. So in other words, we won't worry about the effect that it had on Stephen. We'll just bypass that. We'll talk about what happened to the victim. Now, This is the central issue all along. Notice there is no sympathy even now for Stephen Avery. None. It's he had to do those 6 years to 12. Don't worry about it.
Well, it probably, I mean, in reality, if you'd not gotten any trouble or whatever in prison, it probably would have been more like, probably 3 or 4, right?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Candy Avery write a letter to Judge Hazelwood requesting that her husband Earl be released early because of hardship in the family that he's in prison?
Yeah, I'll let whoever wants to talk next, and I'll pull this up because you sent this to me earlier. We can talk about it, but go ahead, whoever wants to talk next.
Really quick, sorry guys, but let's not forget, nobody's remembering to mention on the Cam side that how many years did it take from the time that the DNA was discovered to belong to
Gregory
Allen. How long from that point to the time they actually released Stephen? How many years was that?
It took over a year. So
it was over a year.
So My point is, he was made to stay in at least an additional year, even after they knew that it wasn't him that committed that crime. But did we hear anything about that in Cam? Not in the
Hell no.
episodes I watched.
Hell no.
Great point. Thank you for reminding us, Rhonda.
He was I think Gregory Allen was mentioned the one time that we just heard in that clip, and I don't think he's mentioned again.
Correct. Does someone want to read that letter out? Because that's a very interesting letter.
Neverly, can you read see the screen and read this out? Doc sent this to me
Sure.
earlier. Read the date.
June 4, 1996. Dear Judge Hazelwood, I'm writing you this letter in the concerns of myself, Candy Avery, and my children, hoping you will give my husband Earl Avery less time in jail. Why? My children miss him, and so do I. I really don't think it's a very proper place for my children to go see him there. Judge, what I'm asking you is that you let my husband come home, and if you won't, can you put him on a monitor? We don't have the extra money to pay for the jail costs for him to sleep there. I need his help on the little farm we have. Also, my girls are really too young to understand why their dad can't come home by them. I would really like to hear a response from you in this matter. You could either write me or call me at redacted. Thank you. Sincerely, Candy S. Avery. P.S. You are probably thinking Earl told me to write this, but he doesn't know anything about this. Oh.
There you go.
Oh, sweet. What was he in the prison for?
Well.
Yeah. You want to say, Jack 61?
No, you go ahead.
Well, it was child sex offenses.
Oh, but their girls miss their daddy?
Yep.
That's what she said.
Yep.
That's what she literally just said.
Yep. So the what is ridiculous here is the utter hypocrisy, right? The utter hypocrisy that Candy Avery can write Judge Hazelwood a letter saying, look, please release my husband. You know, we've got kids and I need my husband at home, despite him being convicted. And yet when Stephen tried to do the same, there was no mercy shown. No mercy at all, right? So the interesting thing is this. Stephen being in prison for the extra 12 years destroyed everything for him, completely destroyed everything for him. But as shown in that clip, and as someone had mentioned in chat, it had a domino effect. It also greatly affected Penny Bernstein, the very person that pointed a finger at Stephen Avery to say, he's my attacker. And in actual fact, Couchet's drawing, Dvorak's mentioning, all of those things caused Penny to point a finger at Stephen. So now, not only did Stephen pay the ultimate price, but Penny Bernstein paid the ultimate price. And if you notice, Brenda was talking about, oh, poor Penny, poor Penny. I agree, 100%. It destroyed Penny as well, right? But there was no sympathy, even at that stage, for Stephen Avery, for something he didn't do. And he told everyone, I'm innocent, I never did this. How would you feel when you come out of prison and you've been proven by DNA that you're 100% innocent, that law enforcement themselves are telling reporters, I don't believe the forensic evidence. Where did it come from? Where did that pubic hair come from, right? And you're thinking to myself, the poor guy can't get a lucky break, even when it was proven that it wasn't Stephen Avery that had committed this horrible offense against Penny. There were those that still did not want to admit it or apologize. I've got no words, guys. I really have no words.
And again, this is not the only example that Rhonda just reminded us of, that what's her name, Cherie Culhane sat on it for a year
Yeah.
After she found out that, Judge Angie kept the Holbach civil lawsuit open, even though for a year, even though they themselves wanted to get away from that, like close it and dismiss it. So what's going on with Stephen Avery and state of Wisconsin?
I got no idea. It's not good. It's not good. Jack 61, you want to have a quick discussion about what you've got up?
Yeah, this is one of the reports that we have on Earl, and it's a master. This is part of a longer PDF file, but this is towards the bottom, and it just goes back. It lists. It's a pretty lengthy list. I'm not going to show it all, but as you can see, there's 2 charges on here for sexual child abuse. One in 94, 1794, and then another one on down here that I highlighted first, 9/11/96. So this is again, this is going back to the mid 90s. Stephen's locked up, and Candy's writing this letter, and not to get into any of the details about these 2 different cases. People are free to request them if they want. I'm not going to show it on screen. I think it's a bridge too far until we have some more information that we could connect some other things, but we don't. So why go there? But to Doc's point about this letter and the hypocrisy of it all, that's what I see. Doc?
100% correct. So if Candy Avery can request an early release of her husband because of the fact that, hey, she's got young children, she needs her husband around, then how come that none of that was afforded to Stephen? Right? None of that was afforded to Stephen whatsoever. And the irony was, and as Stephen said in Making a Murderer, had I admitted of assaulting Penny Bernstein, I would have been up for parole. I would have been released. But I had to admit that I had committed a crime that I never was involved in. And that goes to show the fallacies of the criminal justice system, whereby you got to do a plea deal, actually state that you've committed a crime that you never were a part of. Otherwise, you'll be released early. Because he held his ground and said, no. And same with Brendan Dassey. Don't go for the plea deal. If you didn't do it, don't go for the plea deal. Now, look at that. They criticize Stephen for not going for parole. And now they're criticizing Brendan for not doing the plea deal. So in the end, I can actually see a situation of an Alford plea, right? What happened with the West Memphis 3, right? Same type of thing. They do the Alford plea to say, look, okay, you find me guilty, but I'm not admitting to any crime. And then they're being released. But to me, an Alford plea is not the right thing. If you didn't commit this crime, you have to stick by your guns.
Well, they only did it to save Davian because they were going to put him to death. They're going to kill him.
100% correct. So it goes to show that there are many, many cracks in the criminal justice system. And here we saw Candy writing a letter to the judge asking for her husband, who was convicted, put in jail, to come home.
For some pretty bad things.
For some pretty bad things. And we won't even talk about Chuck Avery either. What he's done.
That's a longer list than Earl's, quite a bit.
Much longer list.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, but again, part of the rebuttal for that clip, Doc said it, is completely ignored. Yes, he should have served time for what he did to Sandra Morris, and he did.
100%.
Even if it had been the full 6 years, the 12 years that Kasork and Mogul rammed down their throat, and I don't want to get too far off into that. What about the 12 years? Completely glossed over it.
100%, and that's why when you look at Cam, if you don't understand the deeper story, you've got no concept of how does this all fit in. And that's why groups like Foul Play and the fantastic people in chat asking their greater, deeper questions, they know the real story. They know the background story. And that's why Kratz, during the trial, said, whatever happened to Stephen in the as part of his exoneration?
Yeah,
that's got nothing to do with this guy.
You're right. It's not connected at all.
We're just right, but Candace and Brenda at every instant, the cat, the cousin, his dealings with Marie, Jody, all interplay. Now they're all interplay. But when there are things which help and assist Stephen, all ignored.
All ignored. Every bit of it.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, mods. Yep. Well, yeah, we got one more clip. I was just going to make sure. Let me look here real quick. Mods, any questions that we need to address before we move on? Or are we good? It looks like chat's kind of rolling along okay, but I haven't been paying attention for questions. Alice, Kay, Rhonda,
I don't
anything?
see any.
Okay.
Hey guys, give us some love. Slap that like button. It really helps us out. Thank you.
Absolutely. We deserve a plug. Thank you for doing that, Everly. All right, let's just bring this to our last clip, clip 8. Let's take a listen. Here we go.
Stephen really didn't have any relationship with his kids, the boys, at all, even after he got out.
No. Stevie and Billy. I don't know if they didn't believe in him or I don't know.
Only one of his 5 kids talks to him.
I barely see them. Just every once in a while I see them downtown. That's about it. They look the other way.
He had a relationship with Jenny for a little while, and then all of a sudden she wouldn't come out by him at all. So I don't know what happened there either.
Lori wrote that Stephen gave Jennifer hickeys. That was in a police report.
Well,
that Jennifer came home one time and she had hickeys on her neck, and he thought it would be funny.
I might have heard it, but I don't remember it. I don't remember it.
How did he treat Barb?
I mean, once in a while they got in scraps and he kicked the shit out of her. I remember her nose and everything bleeding at one time too, that he hit her against the wall, but in the kitchen.
Stephen Avery had a very well-established pattern of abusing women, and yet despite all of the evidence of this, you had people that would stand by him. They'd say, oh, we're not making excuses for him. We're not making excuses. But that's exactly what they were doing, and that's exactly what they continue to do.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Somebody shut her fucking mouth.
My God, Matt. Right, that's it. Every female out there that has got a brother and has had a fight with your brother, that's it. Your brother's a murderer, including mine. You know what I mean? That is how pathetic that sounds.
Sounds like, looks like we got a. Hold on, we've got a stream violation. I don't know what for. Trying to find out here.
Oh no!
It says stream unavailable. Stream suspended for policy violations. I have no idea. No.
Wasn't me.
Let me see if I can get into the library or the studio here and find out what's going on.
Is it because we
Can we
showed
still
Steve
talk?
Avery's naked butt?
Well, we're still on, but I don't think we're on YouTube.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Earl's charges or convictions, but I don't know that.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not streaming.
So nobody can hear us?
No, the stream's done.
I'm in the studio. I'm not seeing any. Okay, there's videos, shorts. I have no idea. Oh, wait a minute here.
Oh boy.
They talk about how bad Stephen is, but we show what Earl did, and we're shut down. I don't know if that's why. But it's just ironic.
Isn't it because we just showed Stephen Avery's butt? in his lily whites.
Oh, I didn't even see the butt, so
Well,
I missed that.
It's
Sure.
part of the rebuttal, and it's probably Cam.
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Oh, okay, good.
It says copyright issue. It says copyright issues. Huh. Okay. That's really strange. We've been showing clips and doing rebuttals for weeks now. What's the problem?
Maybe didn't like the spooky music.
I don't know. I mean, we've kept the
Or
clips under
Candace
three.
is lying.
We've kept the clips under 3 minutes. We've rebutted after each one our opinion as per the guidelines. I have no idea, guys. Not a clue. Sorry about the interruption. No, to the live chatters out there.
Oh, just blame Rhonda. What the hell, Sheila? What? Wait, what? Why are we blaming me?
It's gotta
Sounds
be
good,
somebody.
Sounds good, Sheila. What the hell did you do, Rhonda?
I did everything. I did all of it.
Rhonda's like, hell no.
So we better hurry up and rebut that
Yeah,
clip.
I think we're good, Doc.
Correct.
Go ahead.
I mean, yeah. Does anybody else have any comments? I've said enough.
Well, I was gonna say the beginning of that clip when was it Brenda or Candace, one and the same, when they said Stephen didn't even have any relationship with his children. Well, no shit, Sherlock.
That was Earl.
He missed the entire Earl. No, the entire upbringing of those children because he was wrongfully fucking convicted. It really upsets me when they say something like that. What kind of relationship do you imagine possibly he could have?
Well, and we don't know what was said to we don't know what was said to those kids, while he's in prison by all those people around them. I'm sorry. Please go ahead, Alice.
5 children.
No, you just took the words right out of my mouth there, Jack. I was going to say exactly the same. We don't know what the kids have been told. We don't know what names he's been called while he's been in jail and everything like that to turn those kids against him. You know what I mean? So, I mean, to say that about his kids and everything like that, of course he's not got a relationship with them. I mean, maybe he should have tried that wee bit harder to get a relationship with him when he came out. Maybe he could have fought a wee bit harder. I don't know, but the kids were old enough to make up their own minds. And if they've been told all their life that their dad is nothing but this, that, and the other, then obviously they're going to be against him. I know because I've seen it happen. I've seen it in time, in real life, happening with other people round about me, that exact same scenario, and it does happen. So he blames Stephen only for not having a relationship with his kids. That's wrong. And that is just completely wrong,
And there's no expectation for him to have any relationship. And mind you, in real life, to use your words, Alice, in families that were not in prison, accused of all kinds of horrible things, there's teenagers that run away from home, rebel against parents anyways. So let's kind of take it easy with this judgment that, Stephen doesn't have any children, they don't want anything to do with him. Yeah, even with parents that are out free, being respectable and reputable with career, parents, whatever, they have all kinds of family drama. So I don't like this approach at all because it's hypocritical. And again, they just scratch the surface. They don't go deeper. What did the state do to help, out the situation?
Correct. But also the fact that Earl is now talking about private matters that should just be kept in the house. And if there are issues, you call the proper authorities. You call the police.
Right. That's right.
Let me tell you right now, how many times were the police called on Chuck? about what, 8, 10 times?
Oh,
at least.
But more than that, but yeah.
More. So if some type of domestic violence took place, they called the police, they called 911, and there was a police report, right? And it's very interesting that Earl forgot to mention that both him and Chuck started hitting each other with the shovels. And Chuck actually hit his brother in the head with a shovel. Now, isn't that interesting? But it looks like Earl forgot to mention that, right? So again, anything that
How
makes
convenient.
anything that makes Stephen look really bad, they amplify up, right? And as Alice said, hey, brothers and sisters, they have punch-ups, they have fights all the time, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Except in this particular case, Stephen is unique, right?
Well, and that photo they put up on screen, if there was at least 3 other adults that I know of in that room. There may have been a 4th, but at least 3. One taking the photo, one to the left on the left side, and there was one in the doorway straight in the back of that photo. If anything was inappropriate, really, truly inappropriate, he was trying to do something to his daughter, why didn't they first stop him if they could? Number 2, if they couldn't, make a report. Why wasn't that shit reported?
Do you think we're going to get banned if we put that image up again?
Probably.
Okay, better not. Because if you notice, there's a guy standing in the background. It could well be Chuck.
Yeah.
He's actually got a can that looks like it's either whipped cream or silly cheese, string cheese.
That's
So
right.
they were going to plaster the daughter with either whipped cream or that sticky cheese that you can get, because you can see the bottle, it's inverted with a nozzle.
Yeah.
So that I remember when those images got plastered all over, I think, was it Facebook or something like that?
It was Facebook.
Look at Stephen Avery, he's a rapist. Look what he did to his own daughter. And you're thinking, wait a minute, there's a photographer who took a picture. You got the daughter who's laughing her head off, and you've got someone in the background with a can inverted. They're going to spray, obviously, the daughter with either whipped cream or silly cheese. Would I do it to my own daughter? Never in a million years. Is that a stupid thing to do? Yes, it is. But do you think a photograph like that was meant for general publication?
Of course not.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
The only thing I see wrong, it's not even wrong, is a father carrying on with his daughter who looked to me like she was laughing her head off in that picture. So she's being tickled or something. And because Stephen is in his underpants, then that's a problem. You know, it's not. I mean, my dad, fair enough, it wasn't his underpants or his boxers that he was sitting in, but he would sit in shorts when he top on and everything like that. He would jump on top of me exactly like how it is in that picture and tickle the hell out of me, which he knew I hated. You know what I mean? And people thought it was bloody hilarious because I'm screaming my nut off. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't see anything wrong in that picture, and that's what people's problems are.
It wasn't sexual. It wasn't sexual at all.
No, they're trying to make it into something nefarious when it was something just that it was family related. It was family having a carry on. You know what I mean? And the only thing that looks bad to me in that, and I shouldn't even say bad because it doesn't look bad, is Stephen is in his underpants. If he was in if he had a pair of shorts on top of the Y fronts, I guarantee you that picture would never have seen the light of day.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And as for him and Barb fighting, I guarantee you she probably gave Stephen as good as she fucking got. You know what I mean? Like brothers and sisters do. Anybody that's got a brother, you know what I mean? Whether it's older or younger, it doesn't matter. You still get on each other's nerves. You still want to batter each other left, right, and centre and get the other one into trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's sibling rivalry. It's growing up in a big family. That's how it goes. You know what I mean? And to try and make something nefarious out of it is just ridiculous. And it shows the hypocrisy and the mindset of the people that are in this documentary.
I remember when I first saw those pictures a while back, and as I thought about that picture over time, it occurred to me, because it's in a group setting that picture is taken, and
That's
like
right.
Doc said, somebody took the picture, somebody was prepared to spray silly string or cheese whiz or whatever onto somebody. My thought was, because things like this have actually happened in my family, where just a bunch of jerks, being jerks to each other. I started thinking, what if Stephen was in his room or something, changing his clothes or getting ready to shower or something, who knows? And somebody pranked him some way or somehow, apparently Jenny, and he ran out of his room and tackled her to the ground because, and then was holding her there so somebody could spray her with because it was all very well, it looked very well constructed and set up to me.
It's a setup.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I realize, it's just like picking and stretching, but that was something that I thought about, because I didn't think it, I didn't like seeing his butt crack, but,
No.
I thought it could, I honestly felt like that could have been a scene from my own family. Honestly, I really,
But you
I
see,
really
when
did.
we say stuff like that,
now
then
I sound
we're
like
the enabler.
Yeah.
And
so no matter what you say,
yeah,
that's their point.
But at the end of the day, right? They're in family pictures, right? The question is, who gave them out so that they could be published on Convicting a Murderer? I'm more concerned with the person who handed them out than what actually Stephen did. Would I do that in my family? No, but I'm built differently. I would never do something like that. Have I known families in which there are a bunch of pranksters? Yep.
Absolutely.
Well,
Shit happens all the time.
As far as I'm aware, Doc, and I could be wrong, and if I am, please, whoever it is, correct me in the comments after or whatever. But from what I remember with those pictures being put up on Facebook, it was actually a family member had handed these pictures over to someone else, and then they posted them on
That's what I
Facebook.
heard too.
And that was how they got it. Don't ask me what group it was. I don't know. I can't remember if it was one that was blaming
I know who it was. I know who it was.
Or the family group, but that was how those photographs came to the public view, was because a family member, don't know which one, but a family member handed them over to this person, and this person then published them on Facebook to try and tarnish Stephen even more. That was how I picked up on these photos being put out.
Well,
like that,
the original photo was cropped, and you couldn't see the person sitting in the chair on the left, and you couldn't see the person standing in the doorway directly behind them. It was cropped. Then we got the original photo and showed that, and I'm like, okay, what the hell, man? There's there's at least 3 other people in the room. If there was something inappropriate going on, why wasn't there a report made? Why didn't you call the police? It's just bullshit. Is it? I mean, I'm like Doc. I'm built differently. Do I consider it a bit inappropriate? I do. But do I have known people that it's happened? Absolutely. And it means there's nothing sexual about it. It means nothing. They're cutting up and carrying on, and somebody just happened to be in their freaking underwear. And that goes the same for, maybe one of the daughters is, running around in her underpants and a bra and hadn't got dressed yet. It doesn't mean anything.
No, and we never claimed that any resident on the salvage yard property had any class. We never said that. So
No. These are country people. They're unsophisticated. It's just the way that's just the way they are.
uneducated, yeah.
Yeah. So
correct, and it goes to show what happens when you take something out of context and try and make a story or a narrative. And Scooby made the remark, she better go through her old photographs. Right, so you can imagine, right, when you're a younger person and you had more candid pictures and some of them were quite funny and quite amusing, they can now be taken potentially out of context and you can get into a lot of trouble. So yeah,
Doc, that's what I was saying too. It's about context. All we have
Right.
is that one snapshot, or however many there
Sure.
were.
So,
We didn't
well,
have
there was
what happened before.
there was the cropped one, and then we finally got the uncropped version. Go ahead.
The
Andre.
original, yeah. But we didn't have the context of what was taking a place around
No.
that photo being taken.
That event.
Yeah,
No.
it sucked that he was in his underwear, but we don't have the whole context of that, and it's bullshit that they made it a nasty, horrible, disgusting thing.
but you know what the ulterior motive was, right? Replace the daughter with Teresa Horbach.
That's exactly right.
That's a subliminal message that they're trying to send, right? So in effect, if you see episode 2, which is what we've just went through, remove any sympathy you have with Stephen. Right? He's a scumbag. 2, look what he did to his own daughter. So hence, you're now seated in your mind, oh my God, this guy really is a rapist, right?
Right.
That's what they're alluding to without actually saying it. It's all subliminal. It's all suggestive. It's designed to damage Stephen as much as possible and to make us look like idiots that we're supporting that type of behavior. And we said it right throughout episode 1, episode 2. None of us condone that shit. We're not that type of individuals, but I know families that carry on like pork chops like that. To them, it's no big deal. They do it, I understand.
Well, here's a question. Okay, so you're convinced that your uncle, cousin, whomever, a relative, has done this horrible, just unfathomable, I can't pronounce that word, English is my second language. Yeah, that one. Yeah, act. Then why wouldn't you distance yourself by minding your own business instead of reliving and revitalizing the whole case and making yourself a part of this trashy community by posting those pictures? Who gains what? Nobody gains anything. You play with shit, you smell like shit. So I'm sorry, what kind of family would do that? And why? Why would you do that? What do you gain from it? I guarantee you nothing. Because if you're laughing at Stephen, at your other cousins, family members, Marie or whomever that was, you're laughing at yourself as well.
Correct. Now, I think if I could just make the comment, someone, was a Whiskey for Breakfast, made the comment about the allegation that Stephen had punched his own son or stepson that I don't know anything about. Again, if you as a mother suspected something like that taking place, you ring the police. You get you formalize that in a report. You get the police involved. If you believe that Stephen had done this to his own stepson, you report it. For us, we weren't there. We're not defending that. If Stephen did that, he deserves jail time.
I don't think I've seen a report about this.
Not as far as I'm aware, but they mentioned it in CAM. Correct.
But was there documentation along with that?
No, just that there was allegations that Stephen had his stepson.
Yeah, more hearsay.
Correct. And if, like I said, we can't comment because we weren't there. We can't speculate, but if his son definitely did that, you call the police.
Well, and if anybody has any documentation to show us, then we'll try to dig and address it.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like that at all.
Correct.
Okay. I'm trying to see if there's anything else.
Well, Whiskey for Breakfast is saying it was in cam and it looked like a transcript.
Yeah, I have to look at it again. I know which one he's talking about.
Do you? You got an idea of what's that, Doc?
No. I know what incident he's talking about. I have to go back and watch episode 2 again. It was mentioned in there. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, I think we're 2.5 hours in, so if everybody's good, why don't we go around the panel and get any final comments on episodes 1 and 2 and our rebuttal, and let's call it a day. What do you think, guys? We're good?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. I'll just start off on top here. Rhonda, final comments.
Oh, I think I said everything and more that I need to say about it. So thank you. Thank you to everybody in the chat and everybody on the panel, and for a great episode.
Absolutely. And don't forget, we'll be on with Rhonda on her channel on Tuesday at 5 p.m., continuing to read about one of the accusers in the Daniel Holtzclaw case. So please join us. It's a crazy, crazy case. All right. And then next we have, who we have next? That would be Kay.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating watching every episode be about just emotions and just trying to inflame people. It's not following the evidence in search of the truth, and it's just crap.
It's psychological. It's psychological.
Yeah. I mean, people love that shit, though.
They do.
That's how people get convicted in the media all the time, is, on emotion. So maybe they felt like they could get more people if they crafted their documentary. I say that loosely. Like that. I don't know.
I agree. I think you nailed it. It was a psychological event that went on. They left a huge amount of context out surrounding these various events. But they, we weren't their target. These were people that are targeted that had a problem with making a murder. So, all right. Yeah. Anything else, Kay?
No.
All righty. Thank you so much. And then we have JD. What do you think, JD? Any final thoughts?
I still haven't learned anything new than what Mum had brought out. So I'm still waiting to see what Cam's supposed to be saying. Because he was all supposed to be told that we have the final answers and stuff. But I still haven't found it. So, maybe somebody can point it out to me.
I'm sorry. You're going to be really disappointed. They were very conclusionary, trying to drive people to a certain end. A lot of it without proof, making these huge jumps. But yeah, they said that they had bombshells and this and that. I didn't see them, but I guess maybe I've just read too much. Anyway, thank you so much, Jay. Dr. Silkman.
Well, I'm really glad that we had a really deep analysis of episodes number 1 and 2. And look, I do apologize. Some of the more crass stuff, I didn't really want to show a clip. We probably would have got banned if we had shown some of that stuff. To me, this was more of a shockumentary. Again, character assassination. we all know that Stephen was not a good guy. And I believe that there are fundamental factors that contributed to that. Being falsely accused in prison, hands up if you know what it feels like to be falsely accused and sit in jail for something you didn't do. I don't have that experience. I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure that it had a real great effect on him and completely destroyed his family life. I didn't really like the way Candace and Brenda simply brushed it off. Okay, he spent an extra 12 years in prison. Yeah, so what? Look at the effect that it had on A, B, C, D. But the reality is it had a great effect on Stephen himself. Neverly came up, put a really good suggestion. And the factor is that if you come out of prison, you really need help, you really need assistance, you need guidance. You can't just be let loose back into society after being in prison for 18 years. And this, I believe, had a drastic effect. Would it have an effect for him to murder? In my opinion, would have had the absolute opposite effect. He would have remembered every day he spent in prison for something he didn't do. And one thing that rung true to me was when Fassbender and Wiegert interviewed him when he was arrested. What convinced me was when Stephen absolutely looked at Wiegert and said, "Do you think I want to do any more? I've done 18 years. Do you think I want to do any more?" And the truth, the passion, the hurt in what Stephen said convinced me then and there. This guy had nothing to do with it. Either that or the guy is a true actor and psychopath. I don't believe he is. But I thought we had a really great discussion, fantastic questions from chat, and very passionate panel members. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Silkman. I think that is a really good wrap up. And I personally want to thank you for, I looked at the clips and I reviewed 1 and 2, and there's some really disturbing things that were said, and I'm glad you left them out. People can watch it on their own and I guess draw their own conclusions, but I don't think it was appropriate for this. So I want to thank you for not putting those up.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Doc. Neverly, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Very disappointed personally in what a missed opportunity Cam did, I guess. They just missed the opportunity to straight certain things right. As in, with the whole hoopla of advertisements, we waited for it forever. We were a part of it. But I think they missed the opportunity to look into the justice system. Rather, they focused on defending the law enforcement, the courts, monstrification of Stephen, hearsay. You know what I mean? It's like nowadays you really have to
going after making a murder.
Exactly. It's just almost like, and the way they did Laura and Moira at the end in the last episode, they did them dirty, actually. And in a way, it showed their jealousy and envy of the success that these 2 independent women had doing a project. I think, to me, it screamed envy and jealousy because they went after them hard.
I completely agree with that. And anyone that's went back,
it brought us actually a lot of new subscribers, new followers, so we kind of should be thankful for Cam in that way. I think it's hilarious. But yeah.
We're not looking for bright lights and shiny and scary music. We just want to convey what information we know. And if we draw our own conclusions, that's our right to do so. And and that's everybody's right. If they want to get on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, they can do their own.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think it was really
it's easy to point a finger. Yeah,
it is. Standing on the sideline and throw rocks. It is easy. and I'm sure I've been guilty of it in the past. I try not to do it too much now, unless I see something really wrong. But I think that you brought up a really good point, and I'm going to address it now before we move on, is the jealousy factor after the success of Ma'am. It was a huge problem for Ken Kratz and his ego. Huge problem. He had a major hard-on for these women. You could tell it through the many interviews he did on the various media, whether it was radio or television. He had a major problem. So I think that's an excellent point. I think others did too that were, off in the background that have tried their own success with documentaries and so forth. So yeah, I agree. Anyway, thank you so much, Neverly. And
Pleasure.
then, yep. And then Cherie, final thoughts.
I really enjoyed the discussion once again. I wanted to remind everybody tomorrow night, Amy is having another interrogation. I think it's Ashley's tomorrow night at 7:00.
Yep, that's
Eastern time.
Case X. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
case by case. Yeah. So I just hope everybody can make it to that. And thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cherie. And then Alice, final thoughts.
How long have we got? Basically, in a nutshell, Cam has done nothing, absolutely nothing to change my mind. They haven't showed me anything I didn't already know. Because if you didn't just watch Ma'am and took their took their word for it and did your deep dive into the case, like people say that they deep dive into the case, then they would know that these rumors and allegations, because that's all they are, were flying about left, right, and centre. So there was no big wow moments or anything like that whatsoever. They were hypocrites left, right, and centre. They had the cheek to talk about Ma'am editing stuff. They edited plenty as well. They cherry picked what they wanted. Like other members on the panel have said, they did not mention anything about the bad investigation, the way it was handled, the way it was done, everything like that, which they could have. And I think they would have got some kudos for doing that if they did, but they didn't. It was just character assassination of, in my opinion, not just of Stephen, but of the Avery family itself. And then you've got actual members of the family themselves saying things, to me, in my opinion, has never been said before, but all of a sudden it's came up now, So to me, that's a load of bullshit as well. So yeah, it was a load of bollocks. And I'll leave it at that. And thanks to everyone in chat. Thanks to everyone on my lovely panel. And I look forward to next week. And I look forward to seeing I am and I'm not looking forward to seeing what Ron does bring in for us on Tuesday. And I will protest now. As long as I don't get Giga, I'm happy.
Yeah, Kate, Kate does the best gig. Oh, wait, she's here.
Oh, shit. Shots
I
fired.
think you should
Shots
do a
fired.
little presser. I think you should do a little presser before Tuesday and warn everybody that anybody 15 and younger should leave the room.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
God, it's awful.
Anybody 35 and younger should leave the room. It's really rough.
It's awful. It's some of the worst testimony I've ever read. Ever. It's so bad. Anyway.
You didn't read the worst parts.
No, but I heard it.
You were forced to listen.
I was present. So anyway, my final thoughts on episode 1 and 2. This character assassination started basically immediately to dehumanize and to force people to reach back into Avery's past to try to dredge up and say, well, he did this, this, and this in his past. That means he killed Teresa, which we hadn't got to yet, but we didn't show all of it, but there were drop-ins talking about Teresa through this. Anyone that's watched the episodes knows this. Drop-ins of showing Teresa and this, and they would go back and talk about more of his past and different things that he had done. So I think that it was a psychological game, and for people that had problems with Bam, it's probably just a fantastic thing, because they hate Avery. And I'm pretty much going to leave it there. I think everything else has been well pointed out. I did want to point out one more thing, though, and talk about this seething. It was an underlying seething jealousy. You really have to have the history of seeing these things back from 2016 after Mam came out, and Kratz is on all this media saying, well, they left out blah 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 and this and this. They did. There's some things they did leave out. There are many things that are irrelevant. And I want to point out, and I don't know exactly when it happened during the filming of Convicting a Murderer, but there was a point in time that Joseph Evans wrote a letter, right, guys? Remember the letter that he wrote? And they, rushed to breakneck speed to interview this guy in prison. And where's it at? They left all that out. It was insane, all this stuff. Anybody that's been following along over the last 5 years of when this started filming and the multiple things that got posted, this guy, the stuff that he said in that letter, oh my God, you guys remember it, right? I'm not just talking to you guys. Remember?
I remember.
Doc, the Evans letter. Everybody.
Right. Can you remind us again?
Yeah, he's talking about what allegedly that Stephen did, and I can't remember how many times he mentioned this letter talking about Teresa's privates below the belt. I'm not going to say the word.
Yes.
Numerous times that he had taken this gun and put it there, and just all this really disgusting things.
Yes.
And not one factual piece of evidence that we ever had could back that up. Not one. Nothing. It was terrible. So I can imagine they probably interviewed others that they didn't, that didn't get shown in this series either. But I thought that was one in particular because there was such a hoopla made on Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff about it, and absolutely nothing is mentioned in Convicting a Murderer about it. So anyway, any other comments or questions we need to get to? Otherwise, I'm gonna end this and let everybody get out and get a beer or something to eat or whatever they want to do. We all good? We've been at her right at 3 hours, so I think we can call it good. Yeah, I think we can call it good here. I'd like to thank all of our panel members for coming and helping out, giving their opinion. I'd like to thank the live chatters for their questions and comments and their thoughts as well. As we've said before, do your own research. Don't believe us. Go do your own thing. Form your own opinions. We're not trying to force our opinion on you. This is just our opinion of what we see right now with the information we have. If you like what we're doing, give us a like, a sub, share the video. This is a rebuttal to episodes 1 and 2, minus a lot of things that we feel were probably inappropriate to broadcast and to talk about openly. It means all our stuff is marked not safe for kids. It's adult content, but you never know who's going to click on what. So I think with that said, just a second here. With that said, I'm going to say this has been a Foul production.